It's often said that some things are best left forgotten. Experiences with no moral or lesson, pain and suffering without purpose. In the early days of League Zero, before most of the rules and regulations you now know, there were few protections against a team becoming rotten. Those left in the wake were forced to endure, with few outs besides just giving up. Many of you might know the end result of today's story, but few will have already known the finer details of what really happened. Fewer still were willing to talk to me when conducting interviews. Only one voice chat and 2 text chat interviews were given. Everyone else either didn't respond or outright declined, the reasons for which should become apparent as we go through the timeline and weave our way past the bias that comes with so few information sources. This is the story of one of the most infamous, most volatile, and least fortunate teams in League Zero's history, for Overwatch. One of the main differences between Season 0 and all future seasons is that each team's manager was also a staff member. The idea being that the bias would cancel itself out if every team had a moderator on their side. Lordy was the one left in charge of 4 Overwatch, and right off the bat, things were not looking too promising. Being a moderator in Dividing's other Discord server at the time, Lordy felt an obligation to accept their role as manager, despite being based in the UK for an otherwise North American league. Real-life commitments and a lack of desire to actually lead left the team in an awkward spot before any players had ever been drafted. Time was brought in as the captain, as he was an active member of the community, though there was quite a lot of baggage coming alongside that pick, as Time was known for being loud and sometimes controversial. Guess it comes with the territory, and most of the players were just teenagers at the time.
Lordy DMs me one day and is like, hey, do you want to be a captain in the new league that's coming out or whatever that Dividing's doing? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Don't got nothing better to do.
The draft in Season 0 was extremely unlike what you know today. Everything was done in a public text chat that only managers and captains could type in, and there was no time limit for how long you could take for your pick. Some teams would take up to 16 hours having management span across North America, Europe, and Australia, with the whole draft taking about a week to complete. For the sake of this story, however, things went, can you really call it alright? Well, Lordy was mostly uninvolved with the picks, leaving Time to make those choices by himself. The plan was simple, to put it lightly.
The first thing was we started thinking about what I was going to do. I was a main tank player, but I was pretty shit. I think I was like platinum. I was 29 going on the cusp of like 3K. I kept bouncing between like low diamond, high plat. So I was like, either I can fill main tank role, I can flex to off tank. Let's not worry about that in the beginning. Let's like look around. I'm like, I want a main support player straight up, because if nobody on the team's getting healed, then, we're not going to win the game. That was my thought process going in. So immediately out of the gates, I'm just like, what's the highest rated main support? Then we started working backwards from there. Like, oh, there's like a, 3.4 DPS or whatever. Let's just take him, even though we already have one, just because, well, a 3.4 DPS is better than like taking like a 2.5 flex support or whatever.
A small but hilarious side note to this time in the league's history is that after the draft, some teams worried that Blizzard's legal team wouldn't appreciate a community tournament using anything from the official Overwatch branding, meaning that One Trick Wonders adjusted their logo to exclude Genji and Bastion in favor of the blank text, and for Overwatch felt they should rebrand to... Yes, really. Getting the players settled after the draft, it was immediately brought up that there would be some availability issues with one crucial member.
Well, things went kind of a bad turn immediately at the start. I get a message from our number one overall draft pick. Hey, I'm only available on game days at game times. Maybe I can play like a scrim beforehand if it's short. The rest of the time, I got a coach for a Contenders Trials team. He ended up being more available than that. He was available like maybe a day a week to scrim.
Attendance aside, there was not much to speak of for those first few moments of the team's preseason. One player in particular, not verified, messaged Lordy rather early on in the hopes of taking on a player-coach role in the team. There are some conflicting reports depending on who I talked to about his effectiveness in this role, some saying he handled a lot of the logistics with scrims, while others say,
no, he was a player who was like, team's kind of not doing so great in scrims and stuff. Well, he's like, I'm going to message Lordy and just see if I can't be like an assistant manager / coach sort of thing.
In the early days, scrims were mostly uneventful, everyone feeling out the new environment and trying to build synergy before the first official match rolled around.
Our first couple scrims, The first couple scrims on every single team ever, nobody's gelling well, nobody's like have any synergy with their roles, and everybody's pretty much playing comp for the first 2-3 scrims. That's what it was like. We kind of started getting a little bit more used to playing as a team, like as the game came up. Then we played the game, and well, let's just say Go Again already had some synergy before they came in because they were a pre-made team, allegedly, not allegedly. That happened.
Quick little correction there in the name of fairness. Go Again didn't bring in the quote-unquote pre-made team until week 2. Uwu just lost fair and square, and depending on who you ask, they're the only team to lose to Go Again that way. Anyways, as the players got to know each other better and roles within the team started to settle, one player in particular stood out in probably the worst way possible. If you've ever heard anything about this team's history, you should know where this is going.
No, like the first scrim we played in, Indel was out there. He's a very big personality. As soon as he joins a voice channel, you immediately know he's there. He's gonna start saying what he thinks about what's happening. And he did. He thought he had a lot of ideas about the way the team should run, about this, about that, about, pocket me the whole game. So I think we had 2 scrims before the first game. He was loud, and I'm like, whatever. I wasn't really worried about it. Nobody else was toxic. That's a theme through the whole thing. Other than me, well. Oh yeah, I'm very loud as well. I think everyone in the league that was around in Season 0 knows that. I'm loud, Indel's loud, and we screamed at each other a lot. That's pretty much how the team went. Lynch would tell Indel to be quiet. Zenpuku would often just tell Indel to shut the fuck up. There were comments made to Lordy that I needed to be quiet. Nobody ever said that because, obviously I'm the captain. I can just bench whoever the fuck I feel like. So they didn't make any comments to me. But yeah, people were very tired of it by the time the first game rolled around.
Interestingly enough, during my research combing through the old VODs, I found that Tyke was also quite passive-aggressive whenever he did show up. It's definitely to a lesser extent than either Endel or Time, but I found it interesting that none of the people I talked to remembered him as being a part of the toxicity problem. I guess he just got drowned out in the heat of the moment. Regardless, the team mostly expected to lose against Go Again, and didn't take the first loss too hard.
We just kept scrimming. Me and Indel kept screaming at each other and being toxic and stuff. But we were playing better as a team. And individually, even though it's, a mixed team of everyone from fucking silver. Actually, no, we had a bronze player. Everyone from bronze to grandmaster. I felt like there's a lot of individual skill on the team. And then we were really starting to gel. So I felt confident going into the second game. I thought we were probably the second or third best team in the league. Yeah, we were feeling good about it. Then we went in there and, we won 3-0. Part of that, there was an asterisk on that. I think Squidwater, their captain, rescheduled the game, and then half their players couldn't make it. Classic Season 0 right there.
The easy victory boosted team morale in just the right ways, and the stress from the first week eased a bit. Some among the team immediately wanted to write off the newfound success and shift the lineup to ensure things stayed stable for the long term. In a much more dramatic way than you might expect, at one point they actually considered benching Endel.
I actually went back, and before I told you that, I read the log. I literally said, fuck it, Tyler's better anyway, which I wouldn't really say was true. He was maybe as good as Indel, but he definitely wasn't better than him. I'm like, we just need to bench Indel. Actually, I told Lordy we should drop him right there. I'm like, I'm fucking tired of this dude already. And then he's like, but he's a pretty good player if he goes to another team. And then I'm like, all right, let's bench him. And overall, the consensus was bench him. Or drop him, more so bench him, and just let Tyler play and see how that goes. I think we even played a scrim or 2 with Tyler instead of Indel. It kind of worked out. Indel did bring a lot of individual firepower, especially on Genji. When he was on Genji, it was he was dirty. We were in a tough spot there. It was do we bench Indel and gain more cohesiveness as a team? Because, we don't have to deal with him. Or do we leave Indel in and get more individual firepower, but then, the team's not working as well? After the Easy Clap game, we won, and so Indel was only really ever super toxic when we were losing. So we won, and then he cooled off, and he's like, guys, I'm reformed. I'm not going to be a dickhead anymore. So we're like, he just doesn't like losing. He's passionate. So we decided to keep him in because Tyler was as good as Indel, but at the time I think it was dive meta, so Genji was meta. So we were playing Genji, and I'm like, Indel has more power. He says he's going to be reformed, and he's not being toxic right now because we're winning.
While winning games did lessen the severity of the drama within the team, it was still there. For some, this was far past what they were willing to tolerate, and Not Verified in particular decided to unceremoniously leave the team around this time. Again, depending on who I talked to, his impact on the team was either decent or nothing at all, and I'm sure the truth is somewhere in between. What I can say for certain is that he left the team without any leadership, aside from Time and a rather inactive Lordy.
No, I handled scheduling all of the scrims except for maybe he might have scheduled. Yeah, I think he scheduled one because he knew a team that we could play. But then, like, I handled all the other scrims. He didn't do anything, honestly, other than play in the game. And then he would maybe every now and then, his version of coaching was more like, why are you in this position? Well, that's fucking stupid. Don't be there again. He wasn't a very constructive coach. He was more, he was kind of like a mini Endel when he was coaching. He was just like, that's fucking stupid. Don't go there again.
Uwu would go on to win the next 2 games versus Rio Redemption and One Trick Wonders, leaving their season standings at a 3-1. Morale was good and the toxicity was kept to a reasonable low so long as they were winning. However, Tyke's absence for the majority of scrims and some games was starting to take its toll as other teams built coordination over the course of the season.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I was main calling for all the scrims, and then Taish would come in, and obviously, well, he's a contender trials coach. He knows way more about the fucking game than me. So I just let him fucking main call during the games or off call or whatever happened. Not having him in the games, it more so fucked up. Not even comms. Comms were fine. They were clean during games, other than screaming matches. It was more so the cohesiveness. Like I think it was Lynch was playing main support scrims. Or Zenpuku was. We had one of them playing main support, and it fucking, like, they would play differently than Taish. Taish would play more conservative, whereas they would play more aggressive. So I've been playing with this, one main support all week during scrims, and they're an aggressive Ana. They like to go in, take these aggressive nades and stuff. And so we get in the game, and I start playing like I have an aggressive Ana, and all of a sudden I hear Taish, you're out of LOS, you're out of LOS. And I'm like, fuck, and I gotta start backing up, and I'd end up dying or something like that. I'd be like, fuck, man, dude, if this was the one we had on the bench, I would have been good. But then Taish, once again, it's team cohesiveness versus individual skill power. And we went with individual skill power again. Taish was obviously probably the best player on the team. Not even probably, he was the best player on the team. And to bench him just because he's not there for scrims, it felt kind of stupid, even though, yeah, cohesiveness was fucked up.
Now, interestingly, during the mid-season signing window, Time didn't feel any pressure to pick up any improvements for the roster. Having only lost 1 game by the halfway mark in the season, the mentality was something along the lines of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, there was one glaring problem that needed addressing: Tyke's unavailability for scrims. Who they ended up with was unorthodox, to say the least.
So the entire transfer window, right? We are 3-1 at this point. I'm feeling good about our team. I think we're gonna win I don't think we're gonna win. I think we're gonna come second. And I'm like, fuck it. I love my team right now. Indel's not being toxic because we're 3-1 and everything's going great. I'm like, the only thing we need is we need a main support just to play scrims, because we had like DPS is playing support. We had I was playing support in some of the scrims. It was fucked up. Like we were having everyone off roll to play main support, so that way we could even have a scrim half the time. And so I'm like, I'm just going to pick up a main support who's only there to just play our scrims. And so I start messaging people. I'm like, yo, high diamond main support, do you want to come to our team? And he's like, don't you have a master's main support? I'm like, yeah, you'd only play in scrims. And he's like, I don't only want, what do you mean I only get to play in scrims? I want to play games. And I'm like, well, I can't pick you up. And then I talked to a platinum one. No, I want to play in the games. And I'm like, I can't really bench Taish for you're plat. And then talked to a gold main support, same thing. Silver main support, same thing. Got this message in general chat. I'm like, is there a main support who just needs a team? And I got a reply from the Jag 07. He was bronze. He was, I think, 800 or 500 rated. We're talking like triple digits SR. And so I managed to get like 2 other main supports to trial or whatever. And so I bring Jag in there because Jag was like, yeah, man, I want to play. And I'm like, all right, well, what am I out? A fucking 1 map? I don't give a shit. This is going to be funny. And so we get the 3 main supports in there. We trial them out. One of them had schedule issues where they could only play games. The next one, so now like I immediately I was just like, listen, don't even show up to the scrim. I'm just going to be respectful for both of our times. You're not going to get on the team. Then I'm down to 2 main supports. I'm like, all right, let's put in this like diamond main support or whatever. He gets in the game. First of all, he's shit. He can't play the game at all. He fucking sucks. I don't know how the fuck he was diamond. He had to pay for that account. Then he's toxic. Him and Indel got into a screaming match immediately, and I'm like, holy shit! I can't have 2 motherfucking 3 toxic people on this team. This just isn't gonna work. And then I'm like, fucking holy shit! I'm like, I'm gonna have to put the bronze in and like trial him. He was just here for a fucking joke. Like, he was supposed to get 1 map and go. I'm like, fuck it. All right, I'm gonna put Jag in. and this dude's fucking nasty. This dude's like, well, I say nasty. Nasty for Season 0. This dude's like 3.3k. Nasty main support Ana. He's just fucking, hitting Ferris leap darts and shit that just shouldn't be possible for somebody that's fucking 500 SR. And I'm like, holy shit. And then, like, I ended up letting him play the rest of the scrim. And I'm like, all right, guys. And he was really nice as well. He was just a really good dude. Like, he didn't get tilted at all. It didn't matter what happened. Even Endel screaming at him, he's like, whatever, And so I'm like, guys, I'm picking up Jag. Everyone's like, all right, yeah, that's pretty cool. And that was our only pickup because, I'm like, we're doing good with this team. That would come back to bite me in the ass, not because, our team was necessarily terrible, but because everyone else just picked up, like, high SR players during the midseason. Like, everyone went out and just got themselves a Masters player. They're like, fuck it, I want a Masters player on my team. I'm just going to, or another one. I'm going to go pick one up. Like, looking back at it, if I would have known that every other team was going to just start picking up high SR players, kind of deviate from the idea of like a community tournament, because a lot of people started posting their ads for their teams in like OD servers and stuff like that, and they were just dragging in people that weren't from the community because they knew they had high SRs. Some of them weren't even in the fucking League 0 server, and that kind of skewed it a little bit. If I would have known that was going to happen, I definitely would have picked up like high SR players to match what was happening across the rest of the board. So we kind of fell behind there in individual talent.
Leading into Week 5, Z9 was the next opponent on the chopping block, and things were about to ramp up quite a bit. Despite suffering through a suspension of one of their better players, Z9 had been one of the most competitive teams all season long, making quite a few mid-season pickups that far outshone the players on Uwu in terms of individual firepower. What's worse was that neither Endel nor Tyke could show up for this match, giving quite the nasty handicap. If Uwu was going to continue their win streak, it would be the uphill battle of a lifetime.
We went to the game against Z9. I knew they were a little bit stronger than what we've gone up against other than Go Game. But I'm like, we're off a 3-0. Everyone's feeling good about themselves. And we fell into the classic problem of you go complacent in scrims. You start, not paying attention as much to your positioning, that kinds of stuff. We kind of got an ego about ourselves that, we're 3-1. We only lost to the best team. We're going up against fucking, Z9. Fuck these dudes. We're going to fuck them. Let's just roll them and get on to next week. Let's get ready for grand finals. Then we show up, we get 0-3'd. Yeah, that's rough. And you get 0-3'd on Saturday, by a team that we thought we were going to beat. I think you can imagine what happens when you show up to scrim on Monday with Endel.
The loss fully halted momentum and immediately reverted any progress they made avoiding toxicity up until this point. What occurred has been lovingly referred to as the scrim from hell, and unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately for those who were involved, there is no archive of it. Lichness archived just about every scrim and game Uwu had, with this being the one exception. I'll just let time tell the story from here.
I attended every scrim that Uwu had, from the first one to the last one, other than one, because I had prior commitments that I actually had another team. I had an OD team I was on that I got kicked off of because I skipped their scrims and came to UWU's scrims, funnily enough. So anyway, I showed up to there, and I'm like, I can't make this scrim. Would you still like to scrim? Or would you rather me just cancel it? And they're like, nah, we can just scrim anyway. It doesn't matter if you're there or not. I'm like, yeah, all right, good. And then as I'm sitting here in this other scrim, I keep getting Discord pinged. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what server's fucking mass pinging me? And I go and I see it's UWU. And I'm like, oh man, I'm getting DMs and stuff. I'm like, man, I don't give a fuck. I finished my scrim out, and I go and I look and I start reading DMs, and I start looking at my pings, and holy shit, I'm like, I start reading them, and I'm like, oh fuck, well, okay, but Kanji wants out of the team. Oh, well shit, whatever. I think he's like our backup off tank anyway, whatever, and then, I have 3 more DMs. I have a 4th one coming in. I don't have a team. It wasn't even a full scrim because they quit halfway through. I think they played 2 maps. Remember, I wasn't there. From the story that I got, they played 2 maps, and it was toxic as most toxic he's ever been in his life. Everyone's just like, man, I'm fucking done. Which, me not being there probably amplified it even more, because normally I just have Endel scream at me, and I scream at him, and the rest of the team more or less gets spared. But then I'm not there. We just lost 0-3 to a team we thought we were going to beat, and he was probably pretty cranky. And people are like, I'm done. I'm tired of playing on this team. I don't want to do this shit anymore. At that point, I'm trying to just clean up. I'm trying to keep who I can. this was after the transfer window closed, I think. So I'd start talking in captains and managers chat. And I'm like, if I lose all of my team, can I pick up new players even though it's after the window? If I only have 6 players, can I still like get a player or two? Because, I'm in a really shit position here. The mods were basically like, is your team gone yet? And I said, well, technically no. I mean, the game hasn't rolled around, and I might be able to get 6. And they're like, well, try not to lose them. So I start messaging everybody, trying to see, who I can keep, who will stay, what conditions, I'm going to have to meet for that. A lot of people just told me to drop Indel, and I'm like, this was after the transfer period as well. I do remember that critical fact, and I'm like, listen, we kind of need Indel at this point. Like, he's probably second, third best player on the team. We need him in the game. If we want to win the rest of the season, we need him. And even if we do drop him, with the way our schedules work out, I didn't even think we could scrim. I think by the time everything's all said and done, we might have lost Bakanji. He might have quit that week. It might have been a later week. But yeah, I think we lost him. And then everyone else, I managed to get to stay. A lot of people were like, listen, I will stay on the team because I agreed that, I'd play the whole season out. But, I don't want to scrim with Indel anymore. And I'm like, all right, well, Taish isn't here. We just lost a player. Now, no Indel for scrims. And I looked, and we were going to have like 2 of our starting players in with the way our schedules worked out and everything. I'm like, all right, if I just cancel all our scrims and we just play the games, can you, sit through 3 maps with Indel? And people were like, yeah, like I'll put up with it just because, I don't want to have bad reputation in the community. I'm like, all right, cool. Well then scrims are, as you want. If you want to show up to them, show up. If you don't. And I don't know what happened in that scrim from hell. Lynch, I do believe that he did record it, but that he didn't. I think he deleted the recording. If that tells you anything, like immediately afterwards, if that tells you anything about what happened.
While I've had to make some corrections to Time's testimonies throughout this video, and we'll have a few more later on, I'm inclined to believe this story about the scrim from hell. Lichness in particular recalls something similar to what was described happening, and similarly, I can confirm that there are no more scrim VODs in the playlist after the Z9 game. Everything just kinda lines up. Interestingly enough, this was probably the largest silent catastrophe in the whole of Season 0. Everyone's heard the stories about Easy Clap from back then, but not even the staff of Season 0 I interviewed had ever heard of this.
Was staff ever aware that anything was going wrong in Uwu?
Nope. At least I wasn't. I mean, my memory is vague, but I think part of the problem is almost every team was accounted for with a manager or a player being a staff member, and I think that may not have been the case for Uwu.
I had no clue that this was even a thing. I was aware that there were some players on Uwu that were very like, I don't know if toxic is the right word, but definitely like made the team environment. Okay, yeah, we'll say toxic. There were definitely some toxic players on Uwu that made the team environment not great, and I knew that. I had no idea that there was a scrim where half the team left all at once and had to be convinced to stay. And the word of that never got to me.
Leading into the Platchat game, it was very apparent just from looking at their perspective that they lacked coordination scrimming might bring. At this point, they were just playing comp for the remainder of the season.
Oh my god. Fucking during the game. I don't remember I think it was like King's Row or something. I remember this so vividly. He like bladed into the back line to solo kill Diana because he's fucking silver and he got slept. And you just hear fucking, fuck, I'm fucking sleeping. And fucking, I just go AFK for 10 seconds because I'm crying, fucking laughing. That, Indel of all people just got slept by this silver Ana that he's talking shit on the entire game. He's just like, fucking, dude, he's fucking silver, dude. He's fucking silver. We're not losing to a silver fucking player. And I'm like, dude, we got silver players on our team. He's like, yeah, but like, we're not losing to a silver player. That foreshadowing, they call it. He was like so like honed in. I think he thought there was only like one player on the other team, and it was that silver fucking Ana that he was going to beat. He was going to beat, like, it was a 1v1 him against him, and he was going to win it. And more often than not, he just fed into the back line. And Tank talked to me about this before the game and after the game. He's like, listen, our entire strategy right now is we're just going to wait for Indel to do something like ego. He's just going to make an ego play. We're going to kill him, and then we're just going to teabag him, and then the game's going to be over. And I'm like, well, please don't teabag him. Like, I have to be in voice chat with him. He's like, I'm definitely teabagging him. And then in the game, whenever Endel died, the whole team, I would watch all 6 Plat Chat members walk over to his body and just start teabagging him. And to anybody else in the world, this means nothing. But to Endel, this means that he needs to scream for the next 10 minutes. And then Taish probably just said something like, "You're out of position," and that would just send him to the fucking moon.
While Time's story is rather funny, it's not entirely accurate. Being on Platchat in Season 0, I would love to believe that our plan to tilt Endel off the face of the planet worked perfectly. However, having watched the VOD from Lichness's perspective, it just didn't happen as Time remembers. To Time's credit, Lich stopped recording after map 2, so maybe this happened on the 3rd map, but I just don't know. Endel was tilted, but I wouldn't say he was honing in solely on Platchat's Silver Flex support. And you'll notice in the footage that Paradox wasn't playing Ana, he was a Zen 1 trick. Generally speaking, it was everyone else on Uwu that was more worried about the fact that they were facing a Silver player. Endel spent more of the time typing to Bun in match chat. Again, at least in the 2 maps that were in the recording. Revisionist history aside, team morale sunk even further as the losing streak hit 2. Lordy by this point was fully focusing on school and other IRL issues, so they were of no use to the team. A point they've expressed regret over in the years since, but at the same time, they were just a kid living halfway across the planet from the roster they were voluntold to manage, so I get it. Either way, some on the team were a bit annoyed with the lack of scrims, and Lichness in particular decided to take charge. He started taking on a leadership role in the team's comms by this point in the season, and even went as far as to message Lordy to ask for the manager role. Lordy took the opportunity to provide the team with a more active team leader, though Time in particular had some reservations given the circumstances.
After Plat Chat game, I get a message from once again, we didn't scrim at all leading up to Newt. Nobody even said anything in the server, I don't think. I think there's one thing one scrim, and I was like, we don't have one this week. And then I get a message from Lordy, sometime during the week, and he's like, hey, is it true that you're not scheduling scrims and you're just ghosting the team? I'm like, yeah, because the team's dead. It's over. We're just playing out the rest of the games, so that way we can hopefully get a team next season. Nobody cares anymore. And he's like, well, that's not. I don't know. I don't think he really gave a shit either. He's just like, okay, well, Lynchness was. He's like, Lynchness wants to be manager. I'm gonna make him manager because you're not active. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't. No. Well, first of all, that pissed me off because I'm like, remember when I asked you to be the manager 2 weeks ago when I could have actually dropped Endel and picked up new players and everything? That would have been the time to make a managerial change. Not now that we can't pick up any new players. That window's done, and I can't we can't drop Endel, pick up new players or anything now, because back then you need manager approval to do anything with the team, anything, which that was another thing that sucked with Lordy being in a different time zone and picking up players. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, so I'm just gonna make Lynch the new manager. I'm like, fuck you, because I should be the new manager, because I've been here, I've been toughing it out, but I'm like, all right, whatever. Lynch was, everybody liked Lynch more than me, I'll say. He was a good dude, good player. If he was the manager from the start, we wouldn't have had any of these problems that we had at this point. And I'm like, whatever. I don't really give a shit. Team's still dead. Can't do anything about it. So he makes him manager, and Lordy, that was the final message from Lordy all time. Lynch is manager now. Goodbye. And he left. That was officially when, this is how you know it's serious. I moved the Uwu server all the way down in my Discord, and I just at that point, I told Lynch, I'm like, listen, I'll show up for scrims or the games or whatever you can get, but I don't know what you really want me to do as a captain. Team dead. And he's like, just show up to the game and keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, okay.
Definitely some sour feelings over the managerial change, but otherwise there was only one more match and then playoffs to suffer through, so nothing really came of those tensions. The game against Newt was effectively a stomp despite having their full roster. Things just didn't go their way, and in particular I noticed this to be the game where everyone just kinda blew up on each other. It was constant bickering and a few shouting matches. I'll leave you with a few highlights.
Yeah, let's run Hanzo, Line, Zarya, Genji. Okay, dude. Fucking idiot.
Yo, Kai, why are you playing Winston in the break?
Because that's what you do against goats, you dumb cunt. They're gonna play caught somebody, I don't give a fuck what you think is right or wrong. Everybody focus that one bitch. I don't give a shit if you're if you think Brig is a better target. Whoever the fuck calls whoever, you go for them, okay?
No, Jesus.
No, this is the worst map for goats. Are you retarded? Dive! You wanna dive here?
Yeah, well,
hello, dude? What the fuck? Stay top right. Don't jump. Wait for them to push.
We
whole fucking team. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's not like we never ever need to focus one target down. Yeah, let's get a fucking junk
Why
rock.
would you do that if you can just kill the
Why would you try to deal damage to the whole fucking team? What the
So you
fuck?
can get your ult instantly and kill our healers.
Yeah, Big Lucio.
So it's important to note that even until the wildcard game, we played dive. We did not play goats. This was not some decision that, I had made because I thought I was smarter than Al pros and everyone else in the world. And I would decide that I was the one dude in the world that knew that, goats isn't going to be meta, dives meta. No, Endo literally refused to play the game if he did not get to play Genji. And he begged on 2 fucking hands and knees. He begged that we keep playing fucking dive because he wanted to play Genji and he didn't want to play goats. And I'm like, dude, we gotta play goats. It's the meta now. Meta's changed. Dive's not meta anymore. Goats is. We gotta play goats. And he's just like, I'm not playing fucking Zarya or whatever. And he's like, fucking this shit's fucking stupid or whatever. And so we're like, whatever. And I was kind of convinced. I'm like, whatever. I'll keep playing dive. And then eventually it was either the Newt game or I think it was the wild card game. I was like, all right, Endo, I just don't give a fuck anymore. The team's over anyway. We're playing fucking goats. You can play Genji if you want to because you're a little special up there. I don't give a fuck. Or the rest of the team's playing goats. And then we actually did decently well. By decently well, I mean we got 30% on a point maybe.
Another quick correction to time here. The team did occasionally play goats throughout the season, usually with Endo playing the diva, though yes, they did usually opt to play either dive or Rein Zarya if Endo had anything to say about it. Furthermore, they did take more than just 30% of 1 point against Easy Clap. In fact, they got close to winning one round, but ultimately they still lacked any form of coordination due to lack of scrims.
This is how the wildcard game went. Me and Lynch, I think, tried to figure out if we were going to have 6 players. Confirmed. We have 6 players. Okay, I think, let me see. I'm going to be there. Lynch is going to be there, obviously. Let's see. Endo's going to be there. Taishi's going to be there. I think, we got Tyler's going to be there because he's playing hit scan at this point. And whoever the main tank was, Hero, maybe. Yeah, he's going to be there. Cool. We have 6? Yeah, we got 6. Nobody messaged after that. Then the game comes. Everyone gets in voice chat. All right, who's inviting people to the server? Yeah, I got it. All right, you're in? All right, cool, let's play the game. Yeah, we're playing goats, Endo. I don't give a fuck. Play Genji. I don't see if I give a shit. I think he did play Genji too, all game, and we just played goats. So we didn't have a Diva or a Zarya, and we just played with a Genji. I think I was shot calling ults. Lynch would be like, I'm low. We gotta back up. And then when the game was over, 3-0 immediately. I've never heard more people leave a Discord call in my life. There were maybe 6 people in this Discord call because we had our subs in there too. And everyone, I remember this very distinctly. Somebody was like, so is the season over? Yeah. And then I heard 4 people leave. I think it was either me and Lynch or me and Endo. And then I'm like, well, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And then I left. And that was the last time anyone from Uwu talked to each other until probably years later.
Again, time isn't fully remembering what happened, but this take is a lot closer than you might think. The first round, they attempted to play Orisa Roadhog and then switched to Goats for the last round. Otherwise, he is completely correct. Unfortunately, the recording doesn't last long enough to show people leaving the Discord call, but the atmosphere was very quiet and rather awkward once their season had officially ended.
What is it? I'd be very surprised if you do.
I got fucking boobs. We need to actually use ults instead of holding them all.
Alright boys, that was it. GG.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's it. It was a nice season, guys. GG's.
That's unfortunate, man.
For a team so loud and volatile, for the vast majority of Season 0, Uwu's time together ended with nothing more than a whimper. Not quite the storybook ending one might hope for, and certainly not what others might remember the team being like, but most of the time, reality is less spectacular than fiction. I don't blame the majority of players who suffered through this team for not wanting to relive those memories. Most besides time had repressed their experiences, and couldn't recall everything as clearly as I would have liked during my research. But maybe that's for the better. It's easy to look back now, over 5 years later, and see what could have been done differently. But in the moment, led by a bunch of teenagers, it's hard to really place the blame. This team will not be remembered for the merit of their play or what they accomplished, but rather as a cautionary tale, a flame that burned everything in its path, leaving nothing but a sense of regret and cold silence.
I got Lucio. You second.
He's one, dude. Diva one. Oh my god, Ryan. Why did you fucking...
D-Mac her.
Why small brain? I don't know what he is.
Hanzo.
Why someone so muted?
Why would we run double sniper?
Because why not?
Wait, this is a game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh shit, I'm dumb. I thought this was a scrim. I was having so much fun.
Dumb Indil.
This is like a legit game.
Indil, that's why you're not popping off hard enough. Pop off hard.
What do you mean?
Kill the Doom in our back. Kill the Doom in our back.
I'm D-Max.
You're not, you're good.
Leave.
Why do we have Doomfist?
Okay.
That's like the
It's an
opposite
F.
of what you want to run.
Go, 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 go. We're up. We have to go.
No, we're not, dude.
We have to go. We have to go. We have 20 seconds.
Wait, just wait, chill out.
We have to go.
We can wait a second, bro.
We can wait a second, relax.
Can't end it.
Yeah.
1v5. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
It didn't work.
Oh wait, we're actually gonna lose if we don't trust our friends.
Are we gonna get a Uwu Rewind 2018?